They make us laugh. They make us squirm. From birthday parties to haunted houses, clowns are everywhere. And they have been for thousands of years. But where do they come from? Why do they wear those painted smiles? And how did they go from court gestures to creepy icons of horror? Let's take a walk through the strange, colorful, and twisted history of clowns. Clowns are a lot older than you might think. Older than the Roman Empire, even older than the pyramids. Starting in ancient Egypt, around 2400 BCE, dwarf entertainers performed comedic roles that blended humor with religious significance. They weren't just jesters, though. They were also believed to possess spiritual power. In China, during the Zhou dynasty, a court clown repeatedly used his wit to save thousands of lives, convincing the emperor at the time to not paint the Great Wall of China in garish colors. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece and Rome, comedic actors poked fun at the powerful in theatrical performances. Roman clowns, called stupidus, were physical comedians, falling, tumbling, and playing the fool for laughs. These early clowns weren't always silly just for the sake of it. They were often truth-tellers in disguise, using humor to reflect the absurdity of life and those in charge. Fast forward to medieval Europe, and clowns take on a new role, the jester. Court jesters weren't just silly performers. They were sharp, clever, and often the only ones allowed to mock the king. Dressed in motley clothing, with bells on their hats, they used music, mimicry, and satire to entertain, and sometimes to speak uncomfortable truths. Around that same time in Italy, a different kind of clown emerged, the commedia dell'arte performer. These traveling actors brought improv theater to the streets with stock characters like Harlequin, the sly trickster, and Perrat, the sad clown longing for love. These performances were colorful, exaggerated, and full of physical comedy, the roots of slapstick as we know it. The clown had become more than just a fool. It was now a storyteller, a mirror, a symbol of both joy and melancholy. By the 19th century, the clown we recognize today began to take shape, and it started with one man, Joseph Grimaldi. Grimaldi was a sensation on the London stage. He wore elaborate costumes, painted white faces, red cheeks, and performed acrobatic slapstick routines that left audiences in stitches. He also added something new, pathos. His clowns were funny, but also deeply human, with moments of sorrow beneath the smile. Around that same time, the Augustine clown appeared. Miser, more chaotic, the classic red-nosed fool. These two types, the elegant white face and the bumbling Augustine, would become staples of circus culture. In America, clowns like Dan Rice gained fame in traveling circuses, blending politics, comedy, and showmanship. He was so well known that some say he even inspired the image of Uncle Sam. The modern clown was no longer just a character. They were a performer, a person, a persona, and a cultural icon. By the 20th century, clowns had stepped out of the ring and into living rooms, movie theaters, and commercials. In the silent film era, performers like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton brought clowning to the screen, not with big red noses, but with physical comedy, pathos, and everyman charm. These characters stumbled through life with resilience and heart, embodying the clown's age-old role as both fool and philosopher. Then came television. The clowns became a fixture for kids. Shows like Bozo the Clown captured the hearts of children in the 1950s and 60s. And perhaps the most famous commercial clown of all time? Ronald McDonald, introduced in the 1960s, who turned clowning into corporate branding, selling Happy Meals with a smile. Clowns were no longer just stage acts. They were now products, characters, cultural shorthand for fun and innocence. But that innocence would not last. Somewhere along the way, a clown's smile began to slip. In the 1980s, a chilling new figure emerged, the evil clown. Part of this shift came from reality. In the 1970s, serial killer John Wayne Gacy performed at parties as Pogo the Clown. His crimes horrified the public and permanently stained the image of the jolly entertainer. Then, fiction took over. In 1986, Stephen King introduced the world to Pennywise, the demonic clown from It. The makeup that hides its true identity, the forced cheerfulness, the unpredictability. Suddenly, clowns were no longer funny. They were creepy. The 2016 clown panic saw people around the world reporting sightings of menacing clowns lurking in forests, near schools, even in their own neighborhoods. The clown had fully split into two, the joyful performer and the nightmare fuel. So, why are clowns still with us today? Because they're more than just performers. Clowns are mirrors, reflecting whatever we project onto them. Joy, absurdity, chaos, even fear. They're shapeshifters, equally at home in a circus tent, or a horror movie, or a protest march, or even a commercial break. Artists still use clowns to explore deep emotions, sadness, failure, vulnerability, in a way that feels human, even when wrapped in grease paint. Protesters have used clowning to diffuse tension and mock authority. Think of the clown army, activists in clown gear disrupting police lines with absurdity. And let's be honest, clowns get attention. Whether it's laughs or screams, they provoke a reaction. In a world that's often unpredictable and surreal, maybe clowns still make sense. From ancient gestures to modern memes, from birthday parties to horror flicks, clowns have worn many faces. They make us laugh, they make us uncomfortable, but they always hold our attention. Maybe that's the real power of the clown, to exaggerate our world just enough that we see it more clearly. So next time you see one, whether it's in a circus or on the street, ask yourself, is it making fun of us or just showing us who we really are? Thanks for watching, and remember, keep smiling.